For the next 9 years, Albert Schweitzer worked to fulfill this promise he made to himself. These years were spent first in study in Strasbourg, where he received degrees in philosophy and theology, then in Berlin, where he came in contact with the leaders of the German intellectual life of the day, and in Paris, where he studied the organ with Charles-Marie Widor, the great teacher, composer, and organist. Then came years in which study was supplemented by intensive work in 4 fields: as organist, as writer, as university professor, and as preacher. At this time, he not only made a profound study of the organ as an instrument, but also pursued his research into the real nature of Bach's music. He chose to teach theology rather than philosophy, so that his teaching wouldn't interfere with his career as a preacher. Preaching, he said, was a necessity of his being. The titles of the books he published during this period of his life indicate the scope of his interests. The life of his teacher, Eugene Munch, books on Immanuel Kant, Johann Sebastian Bach, organs and organ building, St. Paul, and subjects related to the historical background of Jesus. Because of Schweitzer's unorthodox approach, these books on religious subjects were received with doubt by some and with open criticism by others. Underlying all these seemingly dissimilar subjects was a common element, what he himself called the everlasting struggle for truth. He worked hard with unbroken concentration during these decisive creative years. Denying time, he was accomplishing even more than he had originally set himself to do. But his 30th birthday was approaching, the day when he would turn, as he had promised himself, to the path of immediate service to his fellow men. The knowledge of the path he was seeking came to him suddenly one morning in the fall of 1904. A copy of the journal published by the Paris Missionary Society lay on his table. It was full of appeals for medical help in the jungles. Leprosy was prevalent. Sleeping sickness was spreading. One article in it was called "The Needs of the Congo Mission." It read, "Men who know how to say when the Master beckons, 'Lord, I go with you,' these are the men we need." His search was over. In Paris, one chilly October day in 1905, on the corner of the Avenue de la Grande Armée, Schweitzer put a half-dozen letters into a mailbox telling his family and closest friends of his decision. He would begin the study of medicine, preparing himself to go to Africa as a doctor. There was an immediate response, a chorus of disapproval.
What a strange idea.
Now, really, have you gone out of your mind?
Africa, of all places.
Isn't scholarship service?
Isn't teaching service?
But wait a minute. Don't you call preaching
Studying for years to master a new subject for which you are not prepared and maybe not even suited?
Schweitzer remained adamant. From now on, the example of his life would be his sermon. He wanted to be a doctor so that he might be able to work without having to talk. 6 years later, at the age of 38, he received a degree in medicine. He wrote a letter to the Paris Missionary Society at the completion of his internship, saying he was convinced he could found a hospital in Africa. He had continued to earn money writing, preaching, and playing the organ. Now, with the help of a few friends, he could pay for the hospital himself. He had heard the Master's call. This was his answer. At this time, Schweitzer married Helena Breslau, the daughter of an historian who had been of great help to him in Strasbourg in the preparation of manuscripts. Ready to leave for Africa, they went to Günzbach to say goodbye to his parents. Schweitzer saw his mother then for the last time. She was struck down and killed by cavalry horses on the road to a neighboring village during the First World War. On March 26, 1913, the Schweitzers went to Africa and founded the hospital at the Lambaréné station of the Paris Missionary Society. He did not go, he is said, to bring white civilization to the primitive land shown in these old photographs. Rather, in a sense, he went to atone for what white men had done in this land already. His first consulting room was a chicken coop. The hospital grew, even as war clouds gathered in Europe. On the evening of the day fighting began in Europe, the French authorities informed the Schweitzers that they, as German citizens, were automatically prisoners of war. All work stopped at the hospital. Schweitzer concentrated on a long new manuscript, his philosophy of civilization. Near the end of the war, new orders came for transfer to an internment camp in France, where he very nearly died from dysentery. By the terms of the armistice, Alsace became a part of France again, and the Schweitzers became French subjects. He went to Strasbourg, plagued by ill health. He was deeply in debt, and work was hard to find. Africa seemed very far away. On his 44th birthday, their daughter Reina was born. She was the one gay note at this low point of his life. Yet with encouragement from friends all over Europe, Schweitzer labored as never before, writing, lecturing, and giving concerts with a single ambition in mind. He wanted to save enough money so that he could start the jungle hospital all over again. He worked 5 years toward this end. Finally, in a storehouse in Strasbourg, he was able to gather the necessary supplies and prepare to sail again to Africa. Now, 30 years and many voyages later, Dr. Schweitzer once again supervises the packing and loading of precious, hard-earned drugs and equipment for his new African journey. To earn his supplies, he has written constantly, and when in Europe or America, he has lectured and played the organ. But he has not had to pay for it all himself. People in almost every country of the world have shown faith in the work he was doing, so the work has gone on. At Bordeaux, he embarks for Africa, bound for Lambaréné via Dakar and ports of call all along the coast of West Africa. By his 81st birthday, Dr. Schweitzer had lived and worked more than 40 years for his hospital in the jungle. In immediate service to his fellow man, he has spent 28 of those years in that tropical place, healing, building, and teaching by his example. From the Bay of Biscay, it is 3 weeks by sea to Port Gentil at the mouth of the Ogowe River, 1 degree below the equator.